Howdy guys, this is going to be topic 1-3, literal equations that we covered on Wednesday, September 2nd, 2015. We're going to go ahead and cover examples 1, 3, and 4. So here we go. Nope. Okay, so the vocabulary for this topic, literal equation, what is that? A literal equation is an equation that involves two or more variables. So instead of just having x in your equation, you have x and a y. Instead of just having an m in your equation, you have an m and an n. You have two variables instead of one or more. Formula. A formula is an equation that states a relationship among quantities. Formulas are special types of literal equations. Alright, let's see. The essential understanding for this topic, what you need to know by the end of this topic. When you work with literal equations, you can use the methods you have learned in this topic, so 1-1 and 1-2, to isolate any particular variable. And if you notice, it says isolate any particular variable, meaning solving for one letter, solving for one variable like we always have been doing. Here are some examples of formulas, some examples of literal equations. You see the perimeter of a rectangle is P equals 2L plus 2W. Okay, so you have P, L, and W, three variables, so it's literal. Circumference of a circle, we have C equals 2 pi r, C and R, two variables, so it's literal. Area of a rectangle, we have A, L, and W, we have three variables, so it's literal, and so on and so forth. Alright, first example, example 1. The equation 10x plus 5y equals 80, where x is the number of pizzas and y is the number of sandwiches, models the problem in the solve it, which we didn't cover, it's okay. How many sandwiches can you buy if you buy 3 pizzas or 6 pizzas? So here we go. We need to get the important information out of this paragraph. So most obviously, this equation is the most important. Write it down. 10x plus 5y equals 80. All right. Next, we need to know what x and y stand for. So we know that x is the number of pizzas because it tells us. So we can say x equals number of pizzas. And last, y is the number of sandwiches because it tells us. So y equals number of sandwiches. So that's important right there. And now we can solve the question. So how many sandwiches can you buy if you buy 3 pizzas? So we know that pizzas is x. So we know that we have 3 pizzas, so we know that x equals 3 for 3 pizzas. Alright, so let's go ahead and solve for how many sandwiches you can buy if you buy 3 pizzas. And in order to do that, we need to replace the x in our equation with what x equals. Okay, so replace that x with 3. And now we can solve for y, the number of sandwiches. So first off, we multiply. 10 times 3 is 30. So we'll have 30 plus 5y equals 80. Next, very simple, now we solve for the variable, the lone variable that's left, which is the y. So in order to do that, we circle that 5y, and we subtract 30 from both sides, because we don't want that 30 there anymore. 30 minus 30 is 0. Bring down your 5y equals 80 minus 30 is 50. Next, we want to isolate the variable, so we get y by itself, by doing the inverse operation of multiplication. So we divide by the coefficient in front of y, which is 5. That'll divide, oops, what happened? There we go, sorry. Where was I? Yeah, so that'll divide to 1y equals 50 over 5 is 10. Okay, so after you have 1y equals 10, we know how many sandwiches you can buy now. And now that we know that, we can write our actual answer, which needs to be in a sentence because this is a word problem. So you would write, you can buy 10 sandwiches if you buy 3 pizzas. There we go. There's the answer to the first part. Now the second part, it's asking you, what about 6 pizzas? Okay, so instead of x equals 3, we know that x equals 6. And do the process all over again, but instead of replacing x with a 3, you replace x with a 6. So you'll get 10 times 6 plus 5y equals 80. and then solve. So 10 times 6 is 60, plus 5y equals 80. All right. Isolate the term with the variable and subtract the remainder. Minus 60 minus 60. 60 minus 60 adds to 0. Bring down your 5y equals 80 minus 60 is 20. Last step, to get y by itself, we need to divide by the coefficient in front of y. So 5 over 5 becomes 1. 1y equals 20 over 4. Wait, 20 over 5 is 4. So that's the number we need, but not the answer we need. We need a sentence. So we go ahead and write it out. You can say, you can buy 4 sandwiches. Oops. Why is my eraser not working? You can buy 4 sandwiches if you buy 6 pizzas. And there we go. That's example 1. Okay, example 3. What is the radius of a circle with circumference of 64 feet? Round to the nearest tenth. Use 3.14 for pi. Okay. So what we do, we have radius and we have circumference. So if we go back to the chart we have, oh, why is that there? Anyways, oh, that's right, I wrote that there. My bad. Okay, so circumference of a circle right here, and we need circumference, and we need pi, and we need r. So c equals 2 pi r is the equation we need. So right here, write it down. C equals 2 pi r. Good. So let's go ahead and define our variables. We know that c is given to us as 64. So 64. We know that pi is given to us as well as 3.14. And we know that r, well, we don't know r. That's what we're trying to find. Okay, so go ahead and in your equation, replace the variables with what the variables equal. So instead of c, write 64 equals 2. Instead of pi, write 3.14. And then r, because that's what we're trying to solve for, r. Okay, next step, just multiply. 64 equals 2 times 3.14 is 6.28 r. And then lastly, to isolate the r, we divide by the coefficient in front of the variable that we're trying to isolate. So divide by 6.28. That will divide to 1. And 1r is going to equal 10.1911. And it says to round to the nearest tenth. So that would round to 10.2. And since we began with feet, we're going to end with feet. So the radius is 10.2 feet. Next. Example 4, last problem. Okay, so the monarch butterfly is the only butterfly that migrates annually north and south. The distance that a particular group of monarch butterflies travels is shown. It takes a typical butterfly about 120 days to travel. Oops, it's not shown. It's actually 1,700 meters. I mean, not meters. Miles. Okay. Oh, Emma's was correct. Meters. Shoot. I'm sorry, guys. 1,700 miles is the distance the butterfly flew. There we go. It takes a typical butterfly about 120 days to travel one way. What is the average rate at which a butterfly travels in miles per day? Round to the nearest mile per day. So here we go. Keywords, guys. Distance, 1,700 miles. We have 120 days, so that'll be time. And we're trying to find the average rate. So we need to find an equation with distance, rate, and time. So let's go back to our chart. And down here, we have distance, rate, and time. So we need the distance traveled formula. So D equals RT. So write that down. D equals RT. And now we need to define the variables. We know the distance was given to us as 1,700 miles. We don't know the rate, so question mark, but we know the time, which was 120 days. Okay? And so now we need to solve for R, because we need to find the rate. So go ahead and replace the variables and the equation with what the variables equal. So instead of D, put 1,700 equals R, and instead of T, put parentheses 120. Okay, so now we need to solve for R. Very, very easy, one step. We need to divide by the Yeah, we need to divide because we have r times 120. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. So we divide by 120 to get rid of it. So it'll divide to 1. So 1r is going to equal 54.96, I believe. And that's going to round to the nearest mile per... Hold on. Wrong question. It's going to equal 14.19. There we go. Okay, cool. So 14.19 equals r. But it says round to the nearest mile per day. So does 14.19 round up to 15 or round down to 14? It rounds down. So 14 miles per day. But that is the number we need, but we now need to put it in a sentence because it is a word problem. So we're going to go ahead and word it, and we're going to put it in a sentence. So the answer would be the butterfly travels at 14 miles per day. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you all in class. Bye.